Welcome very much to Conversation. It's a great pleasure to welcome to the program Arthemio Perez, and he's a videographer, and he's a person who's been making television programming that's been gracing our scene here in Manhattan Network these past years, these past weeks, about with iconic footage about the Wall Street occupation, among other things. He's got a very interesting story to tell. I'm so pleased we were able to fit it together. Welcome to Conversations Manhattan Network.
Thank you very much.
I wonder if you could, it's this template that I use, could you share your background, born and raised, and then we'll talk about that, and then we're going to talk and we're going to show some of your footage. But if you could talk about your born and raised, a little of your education, then we'll talk about things in a more contemporary vein.
Yes, I was born in the Dominican Republic, born and raised in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Upon finishing my high school over there, I migrated to the United States, where I am now. And while here, I started working in bodegas.
Bodegas,
that is correct. And
did you have family here that you came, or uncles?
My father was here.
Okay.
And I worked with him for the first year or so.
Okay.
But definitely my mind was craving for something much more than just being in a bodega.
So you would be here about 18 years old or something when you came here, or 17?
I was already 24. 24,
okay.
By the time I got here.
And and Santo Domingo is Hispaniola.
That is correct.
Yeah, Haiti, the other end. And it's a Spanish tradition, Caribbean. Yeah.
That is correct.
And you went to school there? Did you go to what was like high school there and get educated? And what was the family setting? Was it intellectually curious? Were you encouraged in learning and that sort of thing in the early years of your, being?
Well, during the early years of my being, it was very difficult. My father left the family to migrate to the United States when I was 7.
Okay.
So my mom has about 6 children.
Okay, that's tough. Yeah.
And it was quite difficult. We were moving from one region to another, trying to find a place where
you could have security.
So you can have security with the kids.
Yeah.
And so everything was very uncertain.
Yes.
And it was harsh.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Then after 12, around 15, when I was in high school, then it became more steady because my older brother was able to work.
Okay.
And so I ended up going to a technical high school.
Okay.
Where I became a technical auto mechanic technician.
Auto? Automobile.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's Don Bosco High School.
Okay.
They have some of this high school here.
Yeah. And you were speaking Spanish only. Did you pick up any English, or do you pick up English being so close to the United States and so forth when you're growing up?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Right.
No.
Okay.
I was not living in the region where there's a lot of tourists.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a touristic area.
Yeah.
Since it's not a touristic area, English is not really.
It's not in the media and that sort of.
No, it is not at all.
Okay. I'm just not familiar. I appreciate knowing. Yeah.
So when I came here, I didn't speak English at all.
Okay. Yeah. That's a challenge, isn't it?
It was very challenging. So what I did is. Very interesting. I realized within the first week that the bodega had some hours that it wasn't really busy, not many clients, not many customers coming in.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm going to get a magazine, start reading, and I'm going to select the words that I don't know, underline it, and then look at in the dictionary. And then I will learn 5 words every day.
5 words a day add up. Yeah.
And I repeated the words.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
One time after the other, one time after the other, until I memorized them.
All right, okay.
Then I would go back and read the article.
Yeah.
And then I would be able to understand what the article was about.
So you picked it up,
And that's how I learned the language.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm just wondering if they'll ever get to a point where they'll autonomically translate the languages of the world. Wouldn't that be wonderful? If you had a device where you could speak in English and it would come out in Swahili or in Aymara or whatever.
That would be
it's a great challenge. It's a great design problem of trying to get the language. I have a fellow who's trying to do a thing entrepreneurially along that line because it's very nuanced and so forth. And he uses the color spectrum as a kind of template in order to try to build towards something where they could get an algorithmic way of autonomically translating the languages of the world one to the other. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could come to that?
Well, I think that we have the technical capability of doing so.
You think so?
I think so.
You have some understanding of that.
I think that we can do that.
Yeah.
At this
I think it's 5,000 languages, something like they recognize. We're losing them fast. A lot of the older.
A lot of the languages are.
Yeah, a lot of the Indian languages. There were many, many Indian in the Americas. Anyway, you came here, and I'm sorry, I just find everything interesting. And then you had picked up that, and then you went to school here, then at Purchase you ended up, right?
I ended up, but before I went to Purchase, I went to Hostos Community College in the Bronx.
Okay.
And the reason why I went there is because they had a bilingual program.
Okay.
So you didn't have to speak the language fluently.
Okay, good.
And you didn't have to write it fluently.
Right.
So that they will train you.
Yes.
They will teach you how to do it.
That was perfect for you,
and that was
not?
excellent.
Yeah. And what was the training, the technical training?
So I took 1 year at Hostos Community College.
And that was strictly in terms of the language you would do. It wasn't a technical course.
Not at all.
Oh, it was just learning English.
Learning English.
Right,
and get some credits.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, well, I can take some credit from these classes that I'm taking, and I can apply it to my degree.
Okay.
If possible. So after I felt more comfortable within a year, I transferred to Westchester Community College.
Okay.
And it was closer to my job at that time, and I then was there for a semester. And after that semester, I was having some financial difficulty that took me away from school for a year.
Yeah, right. I understand. Yeah.
So after that, I ended up, after a year break from school because of financial issues and housing issues.
Yeah,
as you might understand how
it's of the moment you have to deal with.
Exactly. It was rough.
I understand.
I went back then to SUNY Purchase. And at SUNY Purchase, I was able then, I took a class in political science.
You said your mind was thinking of political issues, even though you were only in Spanish.
That is correct.
Yeah, right.
That is correct. So I met with the professor, and I was very much interested, but I have so many limitations.
Yes.
With the language,
yes,
many
sure.
words,
many
hard. Conversation, I couldn't grasp what was being said.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, to get philosophical, particularly, it gets hard. Yeah, whereas a child learns, nobody is taught to talk. Everybody learns it at their mother's knee, more or less. You don't have to be taught to talk. It's interesting. You have to be taught to read, but you don't have to be taught to talk. That's interesting to me. I'm very interested in this and don't want to get off on it. But congratulations for having conquered the English language.
Thank you.
And then also you picked up, you had political thinking and so forth. And I know we want to get to some of that. You met Mr. Castro and other people you have.
That is correct.
But you went and studied media at Purchase, is that it?
That is correct.
Okay, and you had your eye on media, mass media.
Well, there's a combination between, and there's a very close relationship between politics, social issues, and mass media.
Oh yeah, and also economics.
And economics, they come together.
It used to be called political economy in the European 19th century curriculum, and so everything is connected in a sense. It's not all specialized. But okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
So when I saw that I was having some challenges, that I couldn't bring my thoughts across as I felt them, as I thought, in the English.
That's really frustrating. You have the thought clear in Spanish, but you can't enunciate it in English. That's frustrating, is it not?
I would tell you this. I felt that I was in a bubble.
Yeah, right.
And everywhere that I looked, there was this bubble that separated me from the outside world, from the English-speaking world.
I think that's a well way to put it. Yeah, right. It is.
And it was there with me until that bubble, the layer of the bubble started fading, and I felt that I was already part of that other world.
When I was young, I hitchhiked through the Middle East, among other things, with no money and all that, like you do when you're young. And I got a ride with a fellow in Turkey. I was going out to the Middle East. I'd been to Europe. And he was an Armenian, had been born in Iran, in Tehran. So he knew Armenian, Iran, in Farsi and that. And then he'd gone to Europe, done business. He had a big truck with really good stuff. He gave me a ride, And he was talking to me in idiomatic English, like you and I are speaking. And he said he could speak that well in 24 different languages. Wow. You'd think it would get crowded up there with the doing, but he said it got easier. You know, there's a lesson in there somewhere. It got easier. And you're learning the language, again, as an infant, you're learning that without being taught, except you're just picking up environment. And I think it's like the children are picking up the computer now. They know how to play a computer much better than I can and everything. But, you know, I'm just thinking of the way people learn. You can learn things intuitively or autonomically. And anyway, I'm off on a sidebar. But you studied the media there then, and you did have the political economy in the back of your mind in Spanish, and it began to be able to be expressed in English, with increasing sophistication. Good.
Yeah. So when I was taking mass media, I learned the origin of media. So we touched a topic. It was called the first printing press. Gutenberg.
Yeah.
That is correct. And so I became fascinated. I wanted to see that printing press. And guess what?
Yeah.
I got a ticket. I went to Mainz, Frankfurt, Germany, to go to the museum where they have the first printing press. And I had the privilege to see that.
The actual one?
The actual one.
I didn't know it existed.
It's still there. Mainz is the
Time magazine at the time of the turn of the century, you know, the 20th, 21st century, had a big survey. They did, who's the most important person in the last 500 years or something like that? And, you know, he came up with was Gutenberg. He was #1, above, you know, Einstein or any of that. But
he changed the world. He changed the way in which governments and authorities communicated with people.
Sure it did.
And that is a relationship. You see the connection that we spoke about, politics.
Yeah.
The people and media.
Right.
All interconnected.
That's right. That's right. Actually, it's all interconnected. Did you run into a man named Marshall McLuhan at all? Ever in your media stuff? I'll put you in touch with that. He's a major theoretician on language and or on the media. The media is the message, he said, and that kind of thing. But he's important. Anyway, you were studying that, and then you also, I got the impression that you were doing television because you could do that with your Spanish. I mean, you could make television. You got interested in making television, I understand, or video, right? At the university? At the university,
that was another option that I had. Media, I understood since the time that I was interested in political science.
Oh, really? You were interested in both, then?
Well, yes. If I am going to be into political science, I must understand media.
Yeah, that's true. Increasingly, yeah.
And a way to convey the message. And so since I was not doing the way I wanted to do in political science, I said, well, I'm going to do media, which is something that I understand is valuable. It's not going to be a waste of time. And then I can apply that knowledge when I am ready to do the political science.
Boy, aren't you a good poster boy for immigration to this country? You've really comported yourself very well and so forth, and that's really our great good gain that you've been able to come here. Now, we want to talk about media because you've been, maybe we could pursue that. You've been presenting here on Manhattan Network, where I've seen it, some film of the situation down at Occupy Wall Street. But wait, let's put that off for a second. We're going to show a clip of some of your film. But also, you're political. You've met many interesting people, Fidel Castro, Evo Morales, and you have an interest in politics and so forth. Maybe we could pursue that a minute. How did you come to meet people of that, and how did your politics come to? How did you come to politics, and what are your politics? Maybe it's worth understanding if we can.
Yes, I can.
Summary. Yeah.
Yes. Well, while I was growing up, I saw the struggle of my mother.
Yes, poverty.
And the struggle of my father also, who left the family, not because he wanted to, but because of the economic conditions.
Right.
So looking for a better future, he left. But probably he did not know that there is a big time between the time that he arrives to the new country and the time that he can adjust to that country and generate some income to send back to the family.
Right, okay.
During that time, the family is basically abandoned.
Yeah, right.
And so it was quite, I couldn't understand what was happening in society. I saw many advertisements going on from the government saying that citizens should behave in a certain way, that we should respect the country, that you should not do this and do that, to respect the law.
Yeah.
But there was a contradiction between what was being said and how the governments were comporting themselves, how they're behaving, and how they're controlling the economy.
Yeah,
but I did not understand that at the moment.
But you could see it.
I could feel that
Feel it, maybe. Right, intuitive, yeah.
And so I grew up very young, actually.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Very, very young.
Yeah.
I could observe that something wasn't right. And something was not working properly. I said, but there's so much resources in the country. Why is it that I
Or
have...
in the world, you could say.
Well, at that moment,
right.
I only thought about my village.
Yeah, right. I understand. Yeah, you're young. Yeah, right.
So I said, but there's a lot of production of rice, a lot of production of plantains.
How come these people are hungry, yeah?
Yeah, I was hungry.
Yes, and how come I'm hungry? Yes, I understand. Yeah, right.
And so I saw the effort.
You're thinking it through. Yeah, right.
I saw the effort my mom was putting into trying to get some money to feed us and keep the shelter.
Yeah,
the roof
sure,
over
of
our
course.
heads.
Yeah.
Then I came over here, and I believed that the democracy of the United States was also just and fair. And then I saw that there was also some flaws, that not everything was equal, and people were having a hard time. Also, myself, I wanted to go into school. I realized that I didn't have any kind of support, direct support, into dedicating myself to study if I wanted to, that I needed also to work. But work was so hard that it gave me very little time for me to learn the language and do other things. I went through it, nevertheless. So that's how I became more interested in understanding much more what is happening in the relationship of the developed nations and the developing nations, that the one that I'm coming from. So I became aware of those differences. And then September 11 happened. That made a big impact in my life. It was quite touching, and I couldn't, it was horrible. It was horrible. So when that happened, I became more active in terms of I became an anti-war movement. I became involved into that. I couldn't agree to retaliate to another country with, I don't believe in aggression. And so I had the privilege to go with a delegation to Cuba. With the free trade, there was a delegation that was going to participate within the free trade agreement of the America, and the impact that it had in developing nations like Argentina. I don't know if you remember the famine.
Were you there when there was all that difficulty, the economic? They imploded the economy.
That is correct.
Yeah, you were there at that time?
I was not there, no. So when I went to Cuba, then there I met some people. Like I had the privilege to meet Fidel Castro.
That's okay. High-level personage.
That was.
You respected his work in the world and everything.
I certainly do. I think that being there, I was able to learn things about the Cuban people. I was able to understand that, yes, there is a lot of oppression from the government to the people, but then I was able to see how this oppression, some of it, was justified in order to protect
the people,
the system that they have within.
And
the people within the system.
Now,
while I was there, then I met with the medical student in Cuba, coming from South America, the United States, and other countries. I met with the Prime Minister, not Prime Minister, but the Minister of Health, an Afro-Cuban. Her name is Ana Morales. And
from Bolivia?
She's an Afro-Cuban. And there I met Evo Morales, who at the time was an activist.
He was an activist, but he wasn't yet president.
He was not yet a president.
No, he's Aymara.
He's an Aymara.
I told you I lived 2 years in Bolivia among the Aymara people and did a dissertation on that culture. It's a cultural hearth, the Aymara, as I said to you on the telephone.
Yes.
So I've got a great view. Lived on Lake Titicaca for about a year and a half.
Interesting. I went to Lake Titicaca 2 years ago.
Really?
I met the Aymaras. I met the Ponchos Rojos, Reponchos. I received the key of the city of Pucarani for the work that I was doing with filming and covering.
You were filming there?
I was filming.
Filming political stuff or just
The
No.
creation of a documentary.
A document. Did you get it completed?
It hasn't been completed yet.
Okay, you're working on it.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. It was your own production?
My own
you were
production.
producing it, right? And
Yes,
everything?
that is
You had a
correct.
theme. That's what took you there?
That is what took
What
me
was the
there.
theme you wanted to cover?
I want to cover the food sovereignty.
Okay.
You see the
Huge
pattern?
issue. Yeah.
Food.
Right, right.
It's basics. And,
Right.
And I think that anybody, any society, any culture that lacks proper nutrients is going to have problem developing and problem creating art, creating anything.
Well, that's the host of most of all human society. We've only had agriculture for about 8,000 years out of 200,000 years of our being here.
Yes.
So the Neolithic revolution was a major one, and the Aymara and the domestication of the potato and the quinoa and the oca, the high highland food complex, made possible a culture that it was a cultural hearth. About 4 places in the world where that happened, maybe a couple of others, but Mesopotamia, Indus Valley, China, Mesoamerica, and then the highlands of the Andes was a 4th based upon the potato.
That is correct.
And that was made possible, the civilization that rivaled the old world at the time of Christ. And they had a civilization that had extended up to Venezuela from Tiwanaku. That was Tiwanaku Expansivo.
That is correct.
And it's very interesting. So that's a cultural hearth, and that's the furthest from our roots in Africa that any people had gone that went through from Paleolithic hunting and gathering to Neolithic agriculture, civilization. And so it's a cultural hearth, that place, Bolivia is. Anyway, so that's very interesting. It would be interesting. We could talk on that at some time. We were going to become friends, and so we'll talk about that over coffee and so forth. And then you were interested in film then, in doing that.
Yes.
And then you've also picked it up and getting up to the present. We have a film clip we want to show and so forth. Up to the present, you took a degree and you became a video. You were at Home Box Office for a while or something?
Yes. I did my internship while I was studying at SUNY Purchase. I did my internship at HBO. Home Box Office.
Yeah.
And just before graduation, I was hired. And I was there for about 5 years.
Wow, okay. Production or what?
Production. I was working production on HBO.com.
They do a lot of good stuff.
This is great stuff. I was filming behind the scene for upcoming series and films like Sex and the City, Sopranos, The Wire. And
you're doing all level gaffing and or video or what? How does it work?
Just filming behind the scenes so we can create short clips to put it online to promote the next episode.
Oh, I see, like a trailer. Or not a trailer. Yeah, okay, yeah. And so you were using your skills that you learned at university.
Exactly.
You've applied yourself very well, you know. And then you've learned a lot, and then now you're doing your own production. You do these films. You brought in a clip. In fact, we want to show that pretty quick here now. Okay. But let's talk about how you're developing your own production. What is your status now? Are you with a company, or are you on your own? Or?
I am on my own. I'm independent.
You're not freelancing,
I'm
right?
freelance. I freelance if somebody wants my skills and they contact me, and I do work for them.
Okay. Do you relate to the networks or anything? Do you ever do freelancing with Betacam and that kind of stuff? Or
I have, yes.
Oh, you do? So you're able to do that. Is that still a good going thing now? What is the status of freelancers vis-a-vis 60 Minutes and the other network shows and everything?
Some of the big networks are still using that, but I think that many of the indie type of film, they prefer smaller equipment.
Yeah, everything's getting so sophisticated. The digital revolution's amazing, isn't it?
And I find it to be more efficient to work with a smaller camera like the Sony EX1 or the Panasonic or even the Sony camera. And I think that smaller equipment, also shooting in small discs, is more efficient.
Isn't it amazing? It's a term.
Better quality.
I don't know if you would have ever heard of Buckminster Fuller. He's a major philosopher you'd want to become aware of in terms of technology and reading things in a systems way. He has the term ephemeralization, and he had a great sense of design and the importance of design. And he said ephemeralization, doing more with less, that you're able to do more with less. And the microchip is an example of that in terms of computers. So we're down now to where you're going to get down to where you can do everything with practically nothing. Which is one thing that might be good for the ecology, if you understand, with good design.
Yes.
But you work with smaller cameras than that, and you're doing work like that. Are you employed or are you self-employed? I don't mean to, I'm just wondering to sort of wonder how things are going for you now.
Yeah, self-employed.
Okay.
The economy is not doing so well.
Not well, no.
There is a lot of, the reason why we are Occupy Wall Street with this movement is because a lot of people with skills, with college degree, people who made a tremendous effort.
Yeah, and high costs they're burdened with too.
Individual who had a salary of at least $85,000 a year, $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like myself.
Yeah. Or on the street.
Found myself unemployed.
Yeah, right. With all that skill.
With all that skill.
Yeah, right.
With all the training, practice, and then not being able to continue with the lifestyle that you at one point had.
Right.
Not that you just were getting a freeload. You work hard to get an education.
Right.
You work hard.
Sure. Yeah, I can see you've applied yourself your whole life. It's obvious. Yeah, right.
And so then that's why it's happening at the Occupy Wall Street movement.
I think that's one good reason why it is, because there's a lot of people who don't see any hope.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition going on between people with a lot of good skills.
Yeah.
So
with good skills, yeah.
You have people that used to make $50,000 a year now competing with individuals who are making at least $200,000 a year doing the same type of work. And even among those individuals who used to make $200,000 a year in my field, there's a lot of competition. So then it's difficult. You get you freelancing here and there, but nothing is steady.
Yeah, right.
So everything becomes very uncertain. Now I go back to my childhood when things are very uncertain.
Right.
I say, well, what is happening?
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? Now life teaches, and then you learn lessons that come back, and it goes in a circle. Yeah, right.
So I had to apply patience and try to be creative.
So you've been tracking, as they say, the Occupy Wall Street thing almost from the get-go, or and that kind of thing. You've been doing a great deal of filming of that, right?
That is
Maybe
correct.
you could talk a little about that, and then we got a clip of your work that we want to show, but maybe you could talk a little bit how you came acquainted with it, what you think about it a little bit, and then we'll show a clip. We got a 10-minute clip of your work.
That is correct.
When we could talk to that.
Beautiful. Well, I was involved with the anti-war movement.
Before? Yeah.
Before, that was in 2001.
In general?
In general.
Yeah, okay.
2001, 2002, 2003, 2004.
Right.
That's what I was doing. I wanted to stop the war.
Yeah.
I find it unjustified and...
Which war? The Iraq?
The Iraq war.
Wasn't that something?
Then the Afghanistan...
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, yeah.
I couldn't comprehend such a thing. And then the way Saddam Hussein was assassinated, was hung.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend. This is not civilization. This is not democracy.
Yeah, no. It's
we should
not.
not feel
It's
proud.
realpolitik. It's just.
It's brutal.
Yeah, brutal. Yeah.
Savage.
And what happened to Gaddafi recently?
And then what happened to Gaddafi?
Awful. He was ahead of history's curve. He really. Have you been there at all?
I have not been to Libya.
I've been there about 8 or 9 times. I did a program with him. I had a great admiration of him. I think, and then they just done a job on him and NATO, and they maybe 100,000 people killed with these awful predators and things like that. It was horrible, and they're celebrating it. He had a system that was ahead of history, in my view, and it might have been why they targeted him. But
a lot of hypocrisy is happening.
A huge amount of hypocrisy abroad in the world.
A lot of hypocrisy is happening, and you see the relationship between what happened 500 years ago.
500.
You and I spoke about the Aymaras and the Aymaras and how Tupac Katari was assassinated by the Spaniards.
Yeah.
Now we see the continuation of the same mentality with the same intentions to take the resources. Of the native people of a particular region by decapitating the leaders and parading that so everyone can see it.
It's called realpolitik, and the people of the New World, the original people, have been treated shabbily ever since Pizarro. And it's conquest. Whoever's got the ability to do the conquest, it's called realpolitik. Power comes out of the end of a gun, Mao said. And it's whoever's got the power, and we got the power, and so we can rush out. And it's the history of the world, in a sense, because that's what's been going on, unfortunately.
It is what's been going on. But you see,
maybe it's time for a major qualitative change in the whole way in which the planet is seen and understood and operated?
Correct.
That's the Occupy Wall Street's ultimate objective, I would think.
That is correct.
Great.
And
okay.
even though
called for,
there is not a one defined request
that's
or
wonderful.
demand, that's what is making this so
potent.
Correct.
Because they're going horizontal.
That is correct.
And they're going to include everything, and they're going to get out to include everything. So we'll maybe finally get down to something other than a divide and conquer, one issue concentrated where they can knock it off and not have any effect.
Yeah. Even though I don't speak for the Occupy Wall Street movement,
no, I know.
As part of the Occupy Wall Street movement, filming, recording, being there, I was staying in the park.
Yeah. You were staying there?
I was staying there.
God bless you.
To make sure that I will record when something happened in the evening.
Okay, very good. So you've been down there almost from the beginning, or you were there?
I got there before the second week.
Oh wow, okay, that's way back. And you've been tracking it more or less?
I've been going there every day.
Oh, every day?
Every day.
Oh my Lord, I want to be in touch with you. We've got to become friends. You've got to put me in touch with the people, because I would like to do everything I possibly can to assist that, and that it keeps going and it doesn't just fade or gets co-opted.
And you will meet tremendous, high-skill, intelligent people who are there. People who used to be writer for ABC, NBC, that now are struggling. Somebody sent me, I'm not going to tell you the name, but she sent me a text. She said, hey, I'm going to be evicted.
Yeah, right.
This is somebody who used to write for one of the programs at NBC.
Right.
She said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going. I'm going to court to take care of this because I don't want to be evicted.
Yeah, it's going on a lot.
So
it's affecting a lot of different people who have been comfortable. And what it's doing is it's saying the system is not adequate to what the future requires. We need a qualitative change. Not just one little thing, but a whole qualitative. And they keep insisting on getting out to the ultimate, and they have this democracy thing, and they're questioning, and it seems to be growing around the world.
It is growing around the world, but you see, when we mentioned about the situation in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi, and we say that there is hypocrisy going on there. We saw the reason why they say that in Libya they needed to use the no-fly zone. That is correct, Now, what is happening here with the movement of the people and the restrictions that they applied on the people in the press. For instance, yesterday I was arrested.
You were arrested yesterday?
Yesterday.
Why?
I was standing with my equipment, filming, and all of a sudden an undercover came and said, you don't have permission to stand on the sidewalk with a tripod.
What kind of nonsense is that? What is that coming from? What is that? How did that happen? I don't understand the
Exactly.
context.
So I say, well, he said, if you don't, you have to pick up the tripod from the floor, and if I see you putting it down again, I'm going to confiscate your equipment.
What kind of a thing is that? Who is this, an authority figure, a policeman?
He said, I work at the mayor's office.
The mayor just said he had the 7th largest army in the world. 33,000 New York police was his army. Did you see him say that?
I didn't.
He overstated. Wow. It's not actually true, but he's got 33,000 army. He called it his army. Well, that's it's not really the 7th. He said it was the 7th largest army in the world with the New York police, where they can do stop and frisk and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind.
17 people yesterday got arrested. At least 2 of them.
Where you were?
I was one of them. At least one other was also a reporter, independent reporter, that got his equipment confiscated and got incarcerated. And so, what is that? Is that democracy?
No,
is that freedom?
No. That's got a tinge of what is called fascism. And that's something you want to worry about. When the few own it all and control the political process, and there's a linking up of the capital and the political process, the name of that is fascism. And there's a danger of that. It's obviously there. I'm sorry, what happened? Did you get a lawyer, or did they just let you go? Or were you actually booked? Do you go through the system or not?
Yes, they processed me, and the New York Lawyers Alliance.
Yes, good.
They called me.
Yeah.
and they told me that they would represent me.
Okay.
And I have a court date in February.
Okay, yeah.
And so let's see what happens.
Yeah. What is it? Had that happened before?
This is the first time in my life that I have any encounter with it.
Well, I'm happy to be here to record it for the record here today, the day after your arrest. And mark my words, this man will be living in history and will remember this day, the day after you were arrested and got out and the lawyers came to your support. And welcome to the modern world. Anyway, you've become a very, the trouble is there's not enough time, okay? And we only got an hour, we could talk 24 easy without even stopping. But one of the things is you've made a great deal of footage. We've been playing it here. Have you been getting, has your footage been getting, and maybe this is the time, we have a piece that you brought in, I guess a mini DV piece, of some footage that you've shot. I guess it's all of one piece. But maybe you could, as they say, set it up, and let's play the whole 10 minutes and let people see some of the work that you're doing, because I've been transfixed by some of the programs that have gone on MNN that you produced because they were so beautifully done. I mean, the videography and everything. But could you set it up for us, and maybe we could play that piece now?
Yes. Okay,
no, set it up. Tell me, where were you, what was the setting, and that kind of thing.
Okay, I brought some footage from the October 15 march in Times Square.
Okay.
And we're going to see the crowd, the mass, moving and chanting together and engulfing what Times Square is and giving a new life to Times Square.
Okay, good.
And the reason why some of them were there, I got different people that I interviewed at that moment, different background, different ethnicity, to grasp what this movement was at that particular moment in time.
Yeah, and what date was it again?
That was October 15th.
October 15th, that's a couple, is that when they were doing the expulsion down at the square?
That was Times Square. That was,
no, it's Times Square. I'm talking about Liberty Square. What do you call it?
Zakoti Park.
Yeah. That was when Bloomberg moved in on the 17th, was it? The 17th?
That was November.
Of November. Sorry. Okay.
That was a month after.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No
it's
problem.
hard to keep track of it all.
It is hard to keep track.
So, okay, let's set that up in the booth. It runs 10 minutes, and I guess our mics will be open. We can talk or not, but we may let the footage speak for itself. But we're talking with Mr. Perez, Arthemio. Arthemio Perez, a videographer and citizen, I would say, of the world extraordinaire. Thanks for such a well-led life. But let's set up and run that tape now then, please, if you could. Okay?
My name is Sarah Bakari, and I'm here with Code Pink, and we're out here because we've just gotten fed up with having our tax dollars go to funding wars and occupations, bailing out banks, when our schools are falling apart, our healthcare is falling apart, our whole country is falling apart, and it's that 1% that always gets everything out of it, and the rest of us suffer.
My name is Kate York, and I'm here. Kate York, and I'm here to stand up for my rights as a human citizen. Why am I here today? I feel like myself and the people I love have been working as responsible citizens, taking care of our families, and people in charge have been behaving irresponsibly, and it's about time that we started to demand control.
My name is Daryl, and I'm here today to support the movement. I think it's very important, and I think it's time that Wall Street, the 1%, and the rest of the world becomes more aware of what's going on in this country. Well, what you see in the movement is a culmination of years of frustration and anger against not only financial policies in this country that put the 99% at a disadvantage, but also just a despair at all of the ways in which this country hasn't delivered on its promise of the American dream. So what you see are the class of 2008 and 9 and 10 and 11 and families and parents that lost their job and just everyone who's been affected by this crisis in the last few years. They're all out here to tell their story.
My name is Dharma Agustina. I'm here in Times Square with the Occupy Wall Street movement, supporting and resisting and making a change. We need a change in this government, in this country, and that's why we're here, because we need change.
My name is Tennille Grant, and I am here because I am kind of over the idealism of capitalism, who's benefiting from it, and I work with impoverished youth and families every day, and I see them struggling harder and harder, and so I'm out here bidding my piece, trying to collectively work with the rest of my fellow Americans on equality.
I'm in a barrel because it signifies being broke, you know, like having no hope, having no job, but at the same time, because of this movement, people have their dignity again. And it's the idea of trying to make a good thing and have a good time, even though you have no money. So I'm just trying to have some fun despite what's going on in America.
My name is Mike Ramdani, and the reason why I'm here today is because I am one of the 99%. Right now, there's a lot of unjust things going on. The politicians don't seem to be doing anything to help the people. We're electing them to offices, and they're not upholding their end of the bargain. We're paying high taxes and getting no services, and that's why I'm out here today.
He's probably, so this is down at the park, right?
This is actually at the park one of the days, and you can see how I do my work. You can see me there.
Yeah. That's you?
That's me.
Yeah, okay, right.
I usually work with holding the tripod and the camera in my hand, and I keep it in the air.
Yeah.
I feel that I have more stability to do my shots this
I
way.
see, okay, good.
As you can see there, I get different angles, the camera moves a little bit, and you can see my hand.
Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to happen there. This is something that some of the artists and dancers that come to the park, and every day something was happening at every hour, at every moment.
It's really a happening place, isn't it? Yeah.
You see children with their family, like a daycare center, one section of the park. You see artists, a lot of tourists looking around. Look at the interaction between the viewer and the performer.
And this again in October, right?
That is correct.
This is before they cleared out the park.
That is before they clear out the park.
And the weather was kind of nice.
This was on the 21st. You see children. Everything is a family environment, safe, and it's a wonderful movement, because it's the people that makes this movement. Everybody from one sort of life.
Yeah. That I can see. I see a police officer in the back there. The police were there all along. But then, were you there the night that they, Mr. Bloomberg cleared the park?
I was not there at the moment. they trick. I was one of those who they tricked, and I will tell you how. Every night, around 2 o'clock, between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and this is a beautiful shot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Between 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning, Major Bloomberg will send caravans, a fleet of more than 20 vans and cars with the sirens on, going around the park as if they're raiding the park every night.
Really?
Every single night, making loud sound.
Wow.
Going around. So every time at the beginning when they started doing so, we thought that they're going to raid the park.
Right.
At the end, we stopped paying much attention.
Yeah,
to
right,
it.
because it's another, I understand.
So
Then that one night they swept in and really did.
one night they did it for real.
I'll be damned. Well, that's the way it goes and everything like that. Well, I take my hat off to you for having been down there through that. And you had one film you had showing here where there was a guy just waking up in the morning, and it was so beautifully done. It was beautifully done. How much footage do you think you have of this in, say, let's just say hours of footage? And you do it mini DV or?
I'll do a mini DV. In terms of hours, I should have to. I've been there for about 60 days times 3.
Couple hundred hours?
180 hours.
Really? Oh, that's a lot of footage.
I shoot sometimes 3 tapes a day.
Yeah, right.
To 7 tapes a day.
Right, okay.
I shoot all day.
Yeah, that's really good. You got a lot of footage.
At least 180.
Yeah, and there's others doing it, but you're archiving it in good thing, and you do it all in. You do it. Do you do much editing of the footage, or have you? I don't know. I think maybe they're going to be coming back to us now. Okay, that's really good. And we were just talking about. Did you? You have maybe 100. How much did you say?
About 180.
You were just figuring that out in your head. That's a lot of footage. And then, do you do much editing of it, or are they sort of edited as you go, or?
It depends on the day, and it depends on the content, what's happening during that day, the park or the activities. Some footage don't need much editing because of the shot. I have the opportunity to select my shots.
Do you remember
properly.
the one, it was early morning, there was a fellow there sleeping on a thing, you had a blue thing over him, you started with that, and you had it quite a while, and then you went from there. Do you know the piece I mean?
I do.
They put it on the thing. I was transfixed. It was like Cinema Verite Academy Award. It was telling a story, and you had it so carefully done. Also, the thing where they were marching with the soldiers the other day, and you kept in front of them, and you got in front, you got the framing and everything. It was you had to move fast.
I had to move very fast.
And thoughtfully.
Very thoughtfully. It's, sometimes it's very overwhelming physically.
Yes, I would think.
At the end of the day.
I was thinking exactly that yesterday, that piece I saw,
At the end of the, for example, the day that I was shooting the people waking up in the morning, I stayed there at the night, and I woke up around 5 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I can capture that moment so the viewers can really see.
Well, you got one guy. You had one guy. He was sitting on a chair or something, and he was covered, and he was breathing, and you kept it just right. And then the timing, it was just a work of art is what it was. I congratulate you on that and the work you're doing.
Thank you.
What is your thought about it? You've been there, and now it's growing, you understand. It's important that that place be vouchsafed. What's the status of it now, after the cleanup and that sort of thing? And I saw that when they did that on the 17th of November, sorry, I got it confused back earlier, but then the Judson Church opened themselves up to you. Are you getting support of the people that you are in league with and that? Are you getting support from other institutions around the city? Do you gauge and understand that there's a widespread support for what the meaning of what you're doing and the message is understood by the citizens of the city of New York? Do you get that feeling, or what is your thought about the way the world thinks about you people who are making this monumental cry against the system writ large, and how important that might be, or how maybe some people think it's passing, it'll go away, but is it got legs, as they say? Is it going to last? And what are some of your thoughts about it?
Yes. You remember when we spoke about Tupac Katari?
Yeah.
And how he was dismembered, chopped up alive.
Yeah.
And when they were putting charcoal on his open stomach and his guts, he screamed.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're chopping me today, and I'm going to come in millions later." Evo Morales said, "I am back, and we are millions."
Oh, he referred to him.
Referred to him.
Yeah.
I say that because the eviction of Zuccotti Park doesn't mean the end of an idea, of a movement.
Yeah.
So they have been able to remove us physically and to remove the people there. The people still going there. People are not sleeping anymore there. But the movement is still stronger today.
Yeah.
Because the movement is not the occupation of one park. It's the activities that are created by the different people that are coming into effect.
Right.
We have teachers. We have the New York Lawyers Alliance involved in there. We have other independent media and filmmakers going there to keep in the movement and going. We have IT. We have art. We have teachers. We have filmmakers. We have performers.
Right.
We have engineers. We have doctors. It's the people that care about living together, living in a more fair and just society. So no, I don't think that that the Mayor Bloomberg was able to
break the back.
Not at all.
Not at all. You don't think? Okay. One of the things I was wondering, because you slept in a tent down there, and they took the tents out, and what's there now? People don't have tents and stuff. Or what's the status of that? And also, if I could share something with you, because I'm just totally in support of what's being done, and I'm older and everything, but I'm very much in support of it being in. And when they opened the Judson Church opened itself, it seemed to me, I used to have to serve in the United States. They had the draft. I'm old enough to when they used to have the draft. I had to go in the Army and be an enlisted soldier. I was a terrible soldier because I got in trouble all the time for being smartass and everything. But anyway, but you had a thing called guard duty, and you'd be over here in the barracks. And then I'm thinking of the churches or the other institutions that if you're there in the park, you would go out on a 4-hour basis. They would go out and they would walk the perimeter or something, and then they would come back, and another people would go out. So if you had 20 or 25 to keep particularly that one, it seems to me iconic that. Zuccotti, is that how you say it?
Yes.
That's iconic, and that should be protected. So there should be a presence there constantly, but people could be going, the churches, they could they could have places where people would go, and then there would be, let's say, cots and showers and food and teach-ins going, and that they support that there. And then in 20 or 30, somebody comes on a 4-hour basis, and they constantly keep the place. And then another 4 come, and then they can go back. Do you understand what I'm saying? That there should be support by institutions, universities, high schools could set up a civics project, because the support for what you're trying to do, as much as it's ignored in the established media, it has the approval. As I see, 70% of the people of New York City approve what you're trying to do. There's some way to get the support of the community for logistics, and a thing where it's really systematically being supported rather than just watching things on television. And do you understand what I'm saying? Is any of that beginning to develop? Are they getting a logistics, digging in for the long term? We've got footage of people down there that looks like Washington at Valley Forge. I mean, the water's coming down, and it's. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is there support coming from the society that can make this thing last and grow and grow and grow, and not be subsumed by a media campaign or co-opted or something like that, because it's so valuable? And as an older person, I'm glad I lived long enough to see this thing trying to happen on a large scale all over the world. Could you comment on that?
Yes. We do have support from churches. There has been people going to churches to eat and to spend the night.
All right.
There are individuals, as you know, that really don't have a place to go.
Yeah.
And those individuals have been hosts in some of the churches.
Those are you talking people who don't have a place to go, like homeless people or something? Are you talking?
Well, how do you define homeless people? They are homeless because they don't have a place, but people who are part of the movement, I'm talking about individuals like this writer that I told you about. Or there are engineers, or there are filmmakers. They're homeless. But we had to define that homeless, because there's a connotation behind the word homeless.
Yeah, that's true.
That connotation judge the individual.
Not negatively.
Not you, perhaps, but many people, when they hear the word homeless, they think about somebody who's
There should
incapable.
be societal support for what you're doing. Societal support, institutional support, sociology professors, people coming out, take the gymnasium, set up cots, give a chance for people in large to support what you're doing, to give you logistic support against all the support and the 33,000 police that he has in his army against you. And that's what I'm saying. And when there's an occupation, there should be societal support for the people who are doing it. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, no, we don't. As far as I know, I haven't heard that support from schools. I haven't heard support from colleges.
It could go to high schools as a civic project. If the faculty says, let's support this thing, rather than just, do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Rather than listening to the networks and listening to the thing that ignores it, supports it and helps it grow.
I'm not saying that it's not happening, but I haven't heard of it. I only heard about the churches.
I would like to see it happen, wouldn't you?
That's something that I will actually comment, and something that I'm going to find out to see if it is happening and I don't know about. But I think that definitely, if it is happening, it should be more vocal. It should come out so other people know and see that the support is out there.
Yeah, like the Judson Church.
That is correct.
That's what I'm saying. A place that is supporting it, and then you come in, 4-hour shifts or something to keep it with drums and everything, and you just keep it going and not be beaten down by the people who want it to go away and just everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm so worried that it's just going to get co-opted or it's going to go away like Spartacus or. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's such a precious thing.
How is it going to go away if the living condition of the people have not changed? And we are the majority. We are the 99%. And we have made it clear.
Well, I hope you're right, don't you?
And even though the media has been...
The established media. You have to make a distinction.
The established media. That when we spoke about what's happening in Libya, we're exaggerating.
In Libya?
In Libya.
It was horrible.
They were exaggerating the situation so they can justify the implementation of the no-fly zone. Now they're diminishing what is happening here and not covering the news and not covering the situation.
Yeah, my friend Nat, who you met, he said that the Time magazine, they had one out over the world, was Occupy Wall Street. In the United States, they had the issue, the current issue was how it's good to have anxiety on the cover as a cartoon for the United States. See, so they're manipulating the population, trying to calm them down. So they'll go out and buy Christmas presents and join in the normal pattern.
But we're living in different times today. And the different times that we're living in, people are able to see that. And even though many individuals don't feel that they have the courage to oppose that, denounce that, it is coming.
Yeah, and also the citizens who don't have the courage to get out on the front line could support it logistically and systematically. Congratulations on all the work, and to everybody who's doing all that such very good work down. You're setting a pattern for the world. I just hope it grows and grows and grows and gets supported to where we may finally come upon some of the solutions that they're calling attention to in need of having, and maybe these answers will come, but we'll be able to get some real, honest-to-God, long-lasting justice for everyone in this world, including the ecology. All the very best to you.
I can change the outcome.
Granted, sir. That's
okay. I could cause Obama to lose the election.
Well, I don't know. You think he's going to lose? Do you think Mitt Romney's going to do it? It's going to be Mitt Romney, isn't it?
I think so. They're not going to do.